Hello everyone, Lucoshi here, and welcome back to another video. Today we are building in Zandleij Zoo again, as part of the Endgame project, which is surprisingly still going on. Yes, I know, it's great. It truly is the last stand of Tycoon 2, which I did not think would be so strong and so long lasting, but it's still going after, like, what, a year maybe, almost? It's crazy. But yes, it's still active actually. There are still like 15 people who post something at least once a week. It's crazy. So if you still want to play Tycoon 2, please join the Endgame project. A link will be in the description, so you can join the Discord server and check it out and stuff. For those who don't know, but I think you all know because no new people find this channel probably. But for those who don't know, Endgame is the final stand of Tycoon 2 as a thing because Planet Zoo came out and we were like, let's do one last collaboration project. So it's just people build zoos and they trade animals with each other, and we hold auctions once every couple of weeks where people can get new animals into the system and such, and it's fun. So that is a thing that's going on. If you want to play Tycoon 2 again, or want to have a reason to, there is your reason. Please come join it, it's great fun. But yeah, in this episode we build quite a lot of exhibits actually. What you're looking at right now is our white-nosed Coati exhibit. I like it. I think it's cool. We made 3 shelters for them, one big one on the right, and then oh, there's the big glitch. Everyone likes the glitches of the game, doesn't they? God, if that ever happens to you, just put the visibility of the elevated paths down, and then go back over it with the terraining tool, and it will be fixed. In general, when putting down risky elevated paths, so ones which are close to terrain, or which are above terrain which has been heightened or lowered in any way, just only place those kinds of elevated paths with visibility turned down completely. It will be a pain to place it down, but at least the terrain won't screw up if you place it. So that's a little tip for you guys. But yeah, we made these other shelters out of bookshelves, which is nice, and they have pillars holding them up. And I made this rim around the exhibit of stones with pillars which are slightly offset, which I think is nice, because just having a straight line doesn't look very natural, and this at least looks a bit more interesting. I still would have liked a bit of height differentiation in it, but I did not know how to pull that off, so we have it like this, and I quite like it. Something which I also think is really cool in Zandleij Zoo in general is my foliage work has been so much better. Like, I change it up a lot and I really think about it, and I think as a result we have a very interesting foliage which just looks good and which looks natural and fresh every couple of meters, and I like that. But yes, now we are building 2 different exhibits, 2 aviaries actually. The left one, the smaller one which we're building right now, is for barn owls, and the other one is for great grey owls. My favorite owl species. I just love the way they look. Yes, the barn owl backstage shelter thingy is a bit weird, but I think it works. I try to think about the logistics of this zoo, so I have these chain link barriers. You also saw that in the Coati exhibit, that for the staff entrance we have this chain link cage, so you have a barrier for if a Coati does manage to escape, it's still in there, in the extra cage. Yeah. To make these aviaries a bit different from your usual aviaries, I made these rims with the letters. I felt like doing a lot of rims, I guess, today, so you see that in these exhibits. But I think it's cool. It's something different. It makes it a bit, more interesting than just a square aviary which you see all the time. Here we made, with the rocks in the Great Grey Owl exhibit, this kind of creek river thingy, but just with the rocks and not with water, because I guess I wanted to do that, but I was not willing to go mess about with actual water because that's way too big for a small creek like that. So it's just empty right now, and I actually kind of like it when it's dry like this. You can imagine that, ooh, maybe it's supposed to be with water, but just not maintained very well, or just not sustainable to have water in there with the ground and everything. Who knows? I think it looks kind of cool. It's something different that makes it a bit more interesting and natural, I guess. But yeah, these are not the most special aviaries ever, but I try to make them a bit interesting at least, because I like doing that. With every exhibit I like to try something new and to push my own limits and stuff and do something creative. So here it was with the rinse and the climbing posts which the owls can sit up on and stuff. And yeah, here another forest sprawls up. Yeah, I can't stress enough how much I like the foliage in this zoo. And it's okay if you don't, but I do like it. It's different from the usual stuff. Normally I only do Gaia bushes and that's it. But here I use the bushes and lots of pine trees and stuff actually, which I never do use. And lots of trees which actually show trunks and stuff, which I always say is nice, but I never really do. But here I do try to use that. And I think the result is pretty cool. Yes, here we are building an exhibit for Cape porcupines. Yes, the 4th exhibit in this episode, and we still have 2 more to go. It's crazy. And that in only 15 minutes. I'm starting to become a bit faster with the building, I guess. And the exhibits are not the most big ever. Like the Dierbakrenk exhibits are a bit more special and big than these, but honestly, I think I like these more because there is just so much detail going into this and so much realism. I just like that, which is also why I made the UC set at first and Endgame as well eventually, because I just like the aesthetic of these small, mundane zoos, I guess. I just think it's very endearing. Yes, this Cape porcupine exhibit is connected to the Yellow Mongoose exhibit. Because, oh well, you see that a lot, and I was like, I wanted to have a chain link in the porcupine exhibit. I don't know why, but I just felt like I wanted chain link. And I saw the chain link of the Yellow Mongoose exhibit, and I thought, yes, let's do it over there. Because originally I had another plan for an exhibit on this particular place, the Serval exhibit actually, which I still have to build, but I didn't feel like building a Serval exhibit yet. But you'll see that in the next episode. But for the porcupines here, we have a lot of sand, obviously, this tiny shelter thingy, and some bushes. That's it. As porcupine exhibits tends to be, it's pretty mundane. But that's cool too. Making something mundane interesting is also nice. So we do that here with rocks and branches and terrain textures and slight raising and lowering of the terrain, which I always like to do. Just it makes such a difference to your exhibit to just put darker textures under rocks and under branches and stuff, and where the animals would walk. So in the shelter, underneath the shelter, I have these very dark textures of like boreal forest, temperate, and some wetlands even. And it makes it so much nicer and so much more interesting and dynamic and realistic. I just really like doing that. And I've been experimenting with that a lot ever since I started this channel. And I think I've become a lot better at it. If you take a look at my very first couple of videos, you can see I've improved a lot, I think. And that was, after all, one of the goals of this entire channel. So I'm glad that has happened. And yeah, here we have another tiny aviary which had a lot of space around it, because there was this weird place with all this foliage, but still enough space for a tiny aviary, but not enough for something bigger than that. So I needed to fill some space with foliage, and I was like, well, I do not want just empty, boring foliage spaces, so I made these posts with flower stuff on them, just something different. I want everything to be interesting and have a reason in the zoo, so yeah, I try to do that in tiny spaces where I have nothing left to make something to look at or something interesting there. So you also have on the other side of the Yellow Mongoose exhibit these yellow flowers and stuff, which I also think is cool. I try to use more color in this zoo than I normally do, because normally I only use foliage which is just completely green, but here we also have yellow and some white, and here and there some hints of blue, which I think is cool. It makes it a lot more natural and cool and interesting, and those are words I've been saying way too much. But yeah, I think that's important to have everything be interesting, or at least on this small scale it's important to really work with your details, which we try to do. Yes, that aviary we will get back to later on, but first we are going to build a very small exhibit over here. Even for my standards, this is a very, very mundane bear exhibit, but still I think it's kinda cool. It's an exhibit for European rabbits. Yes, rabbits in a zoo, I know. So I just tried to make a standard rabbit house, which you would see in someone's backyard, only then it's a bit upscaled because it's for 4 rabbits. Yeah, I think it's cool. There's not a lot to say about it, honestly. I mixed a couple of building sets, and I wanted to make a little stairway up to the upper part of the shelter, because you always see that in rabbit cages and stuff. But I didn't really find a good object, so I settled for these roof things I made once, these triangle things, and just covered up the right side of it with a rock and some foliage, so people don't notice, hopefully. But now I've told you, so now you notice, but forget I said anything. Yeah, this part of the foliage behind the rabbit exhibit was also kinda hard, because it's also a lot of space for foliage to fill up with, and it's the back of the squirrel monkey exhibit. And if you go back to the squirrel monkey exhibit episode, which I think is episode 1, I hope so, might be episode 2 actually, I'm not sure, but I laid an emphasis on the viewing points of the foliage behind it, so I didn't want to mess that up, but in the end I kinda did, because I added trees and stuff, but oh well. I figured it's better to mess up the one viewing point and have it be meh than to have one really good one and one really bad one. I'd rather just have 2 decent ones. So that's what I kind of did. And also on this side, on the back side of the rabbit enclosure, we now have a lot of space for foliage, but I guess we'll put an exhibit in there. We'll get by. So now for the very last exhibit, it's also a very mundane exhibit, but I think it's kind of cool in a way. It's very much, it looks like a placeholder exhibit, and it very well might be, because this is for our Siberian chipmunks, I believe. Yeah, I think so. And it's made out of this very new wood kind of stuff. It looks like very new wood, because we have lots of dark wood and everything, and it looks a bit more worn down, but this is all very light, so it looks very new, and I think that's kind of neat. It's not my best exhibit, but I still think it's more interesting than just an empty aviary. Squirrel aviaries are hard to do, because they need lots of teeny tiny climbing things, and we do not have a lot of those, so I try to do something. And if you know anything better, please do tell me, because I'd like to know more for aviaries and stuff. But that's it for today's episode, people. Thank you for watching, and I will see you again in another video. Goodbye.